Part 56. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 556. Under the gazes of several people, Gucci clenched his hands flat on the table little by little. Just when Sutingyu and the others thought Gucci was going to get angry, the latter coldly uttered 3 words, "I don't know how to wear it." A joking smile appeared on Shan Yu's face again. "It's easy, I'll teach you." Gucci didn't even look at Shan Yu, his expression remained tense, and he silently accepted 10 bottles of disguise potions. Then, he turned off the jammer within the hall and ordered the robot to temporarily take off Shan Yu's bracelet. After Shan Yu took out her makeup bag, she put on the bracelet again. The jammer opens again. "This jammer looks very practical. You guys are lucky." Sutingyu looked at the scene and marveled. Why didn't she encounter such a good thing as the wealth-giving boy? It's all the boss's credit. It's the boss who discovered the spy's anomaly. The fat man came to Gucci in time. Shan Yu first went to the bedroom to check the warden's eye color, then washed his hands and came out, choosing the right one among dozens of pairs of colored contact lenses. "Sister Shan Yu, will you take these with you when you enter a dungeon?" Sutingyu leaned over curiously. Sutingyu didn't know anything about makeup, so she only put on sunscreen and lipstick. It's an occupational disease, but no matter where you are, image management is indispensable. Shan Yu searched for a while and finally found suitable contact lenses. Fortunately, he had a lot of stock, otherwise he wouldn't have found it. "Get. That's it?" After such a comparison, Sutingyu suddenly felt that he was not a qualified star. "Number, this is the color contact lens." Shan Yu pushed the contact lens box in front of Gucci, then took out another box of contact lenses. "I'll demonstrate it again." Shan Yu doesn't know how many times he has done such a trivial matter as wearing contact lenses, but now it's a beginner's tutorial, so he deliberately slows down and talks about some precautions about contact lenses. "That's it. It's very simple." Shan Yu put on the contact lenses 3 times in a row and took them off, then looked at Gucci with a smile. "Are you able? If you really can't, I can reluctantly do it myself. Let me put it on for you." "No need." Gucci refused without thinking, and then tried to wear contact lenses by himself. Shan Yu held his chin with one hand and stared at Gucci as if he was watching a good show. It's a pity that Gucci has a strong learning ability, and Shan Yu's teaching was no problem. It only took half a minute to put on a pair of contact lenses. The mysterious and beautiful cat eyes were obscured by dark brown contact lenses. Shan Yu was slightly stunned for half a second. For the first time, she felt that the invention of colored contact lenses was useless. It was clear that the original unique cat eyes were more beautiful, round, and attractive. "Is it similar?" Gucci suddenly asked. Sutingyu tilted her head and spoke first. "On the outside, they look quite similar, but we have just arrived and we don't know much about the warden's personality and temperament." At this time, the fat man remembered, "Miss Shan Yu is probably the person who has the most contact with the warden. Miss Shan Yu, do you look like our boss?" When Shan Yu heard this, he pursed his lips and smiled. "It's okay, but the warden is a polite scum." "Gujuyu, please control your coldness that repels people thousands of miles away. Besides, the warden probably likes fake smiles." "Mr. Guju, don't keep such a sullen face." "Like?" Shan Yu had to admit. "Gucci is the best. The prison warden is such an ugly piece of trash that I can't even carry his shoes." Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 557. After confirming that there was no problem, Gucci lifted the shield in the hall. After all, it's daytime now, and even though the machine is blocked, if any prison guard suddenly comes looking for something, he will definitely find something wrong. At this time, a small humanoid robot flew out from the wall. "Dear Mr. Warden, please note that there is an item on your itinerary that is about to begin." What this robot said immediately attracted everyone's attention. Sutingyu was the first to ask, "What's going on?" "Take out the itinerary," Gucci said to the flying robot. Roger. The robot's face flashed with blue light and began to project the screen to the wall. "It's 10 o'clock in the morning dungeon time. Warden's schedule. Date, 5.16. 11 o'clock, checklist. 11:30, organize welcome performance team. 13:00 performance team rehearsal, 8H. Date, 5.17. 7:00 performance team rehearsal, 5H. 14:00 performance team rehearsal, 3H. 14:30 welcome Dr. Salo. 15:00 accompanying Dr. Salo to visit the laboratory, 1H. 18:00 the dinner begins and the performance team starts performing, 2H. Dr. Solo, Sutingyu looked slightly startled. Is this a new NPC created in the dungeon? Will it affect their escape plan? There are some documents attached to the itinerary. Gucci opened them one by one, and the few people present continued to read. The schedule for these 2 days mainly revolves around Dr. Solo, who will take a plane to visit the island prison tomorrow. As early as a few days ago, the warden had secretly arranged everything, and selecting suitable candidates from the many female prisoners to form a performance team was also part of the preparation plan. On the list, they are all fair-skinned and beautiful beauties. Their heights are generally between 175 and 178. Even the measurements of all the women are almost the same, and they have detailed and accurate data. Damn it, how did you collect all of this? Sutingyu frowned. Isn't there Sister Shanyu and me in it? Although things like height and body measurements cannot be said to be very private, the key point is that the photo files of the female prisoners above all contain photos of their naked bodies without mosaics. Shanyu also frowned tightly. Seeing these data, a trace of disgust flashed in his beautiful eyes. Not for you. Gucci entered the prison numbers of the two people and found no very private data, just some basic personal information. In addition, Sutingyu's message was marked with insufficient height in red fonts, while Shanyu's message was marked with other arrangements in purple fonts. The information saved in this attachment is not connected to the main system of the entire prison. What Gucci deleted before was only the latter. All your information has been deleted. Gucci also deleted all the information involving the two people in this file. Hearing this, Sutingyu's expression finally improved a little. It should be the photos taken every night when the prisoners take a bath. Sutingyu guessed that there would be surveillance, but when she saw these high-definition and large-scale photos with her own eyes, she still felt a little annoyed, even though there was no one of her on them. I found Dr. Solo's information. Take a look, Gucci suddenly said. Dr. Solo's personal information. Name, Theodore Solo. Sex, male. Age, 185 years old. Identity, one of the top 10 honorary scientists of the said federation, a biologist, a medical scientist, the discoverer and deducer of new genetic foods, the chief surgeon of the first successful case of organ cloning and transplantation. Relationship, daughter Greta Solo, disciple Guding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 558. The laboratory was mentioned in the itinerary. Could it be that the experiments conducted there were human experiments? Sutingyu blinked his big eyes and silently sympathized with the prisoners who had been taken away earlier. Sutingyu's speculation about human experiments was not groundless, because he had read Dr. Solo's information, and if the island prison could invite him, there was a high probability that experiments in Dr. Solo's area of expertise were being carried out here. In this prison, the warden and the resident Dr. Guding are almost identical, and these two people are also working together to cover up each other. The inmates living in this prison have to worry every day whether they will be taken away for experiments next time, and the beautiful female inmates become goods in the eyes of these high-ranking big shots, and they are chosen at will. Playing and trampling. Even if these prisoners had committed many heinous crimes before entering the prison, if they could wantonly destroy the prisoners' bodies and minds in such an inhumane way, then everyone from the prison director to the prison guards would not be kind people. Gucci, it's very possible. After all, the prisoners here have almost no hope of getting out of prison. Being used for various experiments, such as organ transplantation, must be something that the outside world likes to hear. Prisoners who can be sent to be imprisoned here will not be sentenced to death, but now they are waste utilization. That doctor came by helicopter, Chin-Chi suddenly said. What's wrong? Kikai. Chin-Chi continued, perhaps this is an escape method set up by the dungeon for players. At this moment, several people understood. Yes, a helicopter. The fat man looked excited. I was still thinking about finding a boat or taking the lifeboat prepared in the inventory to leave the prison. Now that I have a helicopter, I can leave in a swish. How fast? Sutingyu asked, then do any of you know how to fly a plane? You can't kidnap an NPC pilot then, right? I can. Two simple words. At the same time, three people's voices rang out in unison. Sutingyu blinked his eyes in confusion, and silently looked at Shan Yu, who was also confused across from him. Forward. Fortunately, okay, I'm not the only one who can't fly a plane. Strangely, after the two girls looked at each other, this thought flashed through their hearts in sync. The fat man scratched his head. I have taken the airplane driver's license test before, but I don't know if the airplane in this copy is the same as the one in the real world. If it were different, perhaps very different, then Fatty would feel a bit confused. That's a problem. Sutingyu pretended to be calm and nodded. By the way, Kikai's previous profession, it's not surprising that he can fly a plane. It's a basic skill for a fat man. But Guju, you, the leader of a big family, still want to learn to fly a plane? Are you so awesome? Gucci didn't reply. He was looking for some information, and then projected it on the screen. This is the style of the helicopter Solo will take tomorrow, and how to operate the aircraft. Hearing this, several people looked at it one after another. But Sutingyu gave up readily after looking at it for a while, and so did Shan Yu. Only those who care about the three men can see it. It's not very difficult. Some operations have been simplified, but the basic operation methods are still there. 10 minutes later, Chin-Chi slowly spoke. Do you know how to do it? Sutingyu asked. The fat man scratched his head. That's about right, boss. Chin-Chi, yeah. As for Gucci, he didn't answer directly, but judging from his expression, he probably knew how to operate. Sutingyu, suddenly I realized that I was a newbie, quite bald. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 559. Ahem, next, Guju, are you going to go out to find the inmates on the list to rehearse and perform? What should we do? We can't just wait, right? Sutingyu slapped the table and stood up. You can go get familiar with the area where the plane will land tomorrow, Gucci suggested. Sutingyu, yes, this is good. Then let me stay here. After all, the person in the room can't be left alone, right? The fat man volunteered. Gucci glanced at the fat man and nodded. The bracelets all have communication functions. If anything happens, we can notify each other. Then Kikai and I will go get familiar with the area where the plane lands. Of course I can't ask you to go alone, Gucci added coldly. It's useless if you go, the plane won't even fly. Sutingyu's eyes widened. Does this have anything to do with being able to fly a plane? Gucci, oh, let me change the question. Can you use the functions on the bracelet? Can you understand the operation of the bracelet? Sutingyu's mouth tightened, and he sat down in a submissive manner. Skills have specializations. If you are capable, challenge me to a duel, or arm wrestle. Qin-Chi touched Sutingyu's little head and said comfortingly, I'll teach you how to use the bracelet. Yeah, Sutingyu nodded. It took Sutingyu half an hour to finally understand how to use the basic functions of the bracelet. By the way, Fatty created a group chat and brought all 4 people in to facilitate communication. Fat man, I'll leave the bricks here and let Dewey and the others help you guard the bedroom. Sutingyu thought that the fat man's strength was not very high, so he temporarily placed the angel stone tablet next to the fat man. Okay, thank you, boss. The fat man took the stone tablet and put it away carefully. By the way, what should I do? Do you want to stay here and watch people? Seeing everyone arranging their tasks, Shan Yu spoke unhurriedly. Yes, there is also Sister Shan Yu. Sutingyu blinked her big eyes, biting her lower lip and thinking. The fat man scratched his head and suggested, how about Miss Shan Yu follow the boss? After all, the boss is now the warden. Most of the prison guards may know the news that Miss Shan Yu was called last night. And is there still such a thing? Sutingyu's eyes lit up slightly. Guju, fat man, did you two heroically save the beauty last night? When they first met, Gucci didn't explain in detail why he met Shan Yu. He just said coincidence to deal with Sutingyu. Sutingyu, shut your mouth. Gucci's eyes narrowed. Sutingyu curled her lips, and then pretended to whisper to Qin-Chi next to her in a low voice, look, your brother must be angry because of shame, but Sister Shan Yu is indeed a beauty. If she were a boy, he would have already taken the initiative to pick up a single beautiful woman. Look at these beautiful long and white legs. Take a look at this magnificent front peak. Suck it. Strong enough? Cough. Qin-Chi glanced at Gucci's face and coughed in a low voice, silently reminding him. But Sutingyu didn't seem to receive it at all, and regretfully said what was in his heart, hey, why can't I be the one who saves the beauty? If I were a man, I would definitely go straight to him. Bang bang bang. This is enough, man. Hearing this, Qin-Chi's expression changed slightly. He suddenly stood up, took Sutingyu's little hand and walked towards the door, leaving a direct sentence. It's getting late, so we'll leave first. Sutingyu was pulled away with a confused look on his face. Hey. Isn't it late? Then, bye-bye, Fatty, bye-bye, Sister Shan Yu. In the dungeon, if the defects are repaired sufficiently, there will be nothing wrong with Kikai's brain. Big Fish is also a cute little fairy, so men understand everything. Quietly, it shouldn't be very bald, right? After all, it's 60W, cough cough. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 560. Ahem, what do I need to do? Shan Yu recovered from Sutingyu's surprise. She looked at Gucci and asked with a smile. Casual. Gucci coldly said these 2 words, then stood up and prepared to leave. Shan Yu was slightly startled. Okay. Shan Yu blinked his beautiful eyes and stood up together. I still have a personal task to complete, so I can't stay here forever. Guju, my mission target is likely to be a woman, so I will follow you. By the way, Shan Yu explained. Gucci pursed his lips tightly and said nothing. It was not the warden's turn to call in the female performers himself. The place he was going to was where the female performers rehearsed, which was equivalent to an inspection. As for the specific process of rehearsal, there is also supervision by dedicated personnel. Gucci wants to go to this place now. Because it was written in the warden's itinerary that in order to avoid ruining his character, Gucci still had to make such a trip. Shan Yu suddenly thought of something and said to Gucci, who was about to go out. Hey, when you go to the rehearsal place later, you won't see a woman, so you have to keep her 2 meters away from you, right? He stood up for a moment and stopped in front of the door. Seeing no response, Shan Yu slightly opened her beautiful eyes and said hesitantly, "Isn't it? Are you really planning to do this? You know what's going on with the warden, right? It's impossible to refuse a woman, let alone the approach of a female prisoner. Don't reveal your secret then." Gucci suddenly turned his head and stared at Shan Yu, making the latter feel a little uncomfortable. "Ahem, you." Shan Yu was about to say something when Gucci suddenly spoke. "So, as Miss Shan, a new one-night lover, please show off your superb acting skills, which have won the Best Vicious Supporting Actress 4 times in a row, to play the role of a temporary lover who is jealous and vying for favor." Shan Yu was stunned on the spot, wondering if he heard wrongly. No, why did this guy suddenly become so evil-hearted? Do you want to play a jealous idiot? Can he just stay away from other women? Shan Yu glared at the man. "Wait a minute, you investigated me. Best Vicious Supporting Female, this is one of her most popular titles in the real world. If you are ordinary people and people in the industry, you may have heard it more or less. But the Gu family in Beijing has no business involved in the entertainment industry, and these high-ranking and powerful people don't even bother to understand the people and things in the entertainment industry. Remember, warden's lover, don't reveal your secret." Gucci returned the 2 words Shan Yu gave him exactly as they were, "Otherwise, I won't be the only one exposed at that time. Even you will suffer." Shan Yu was about to speak, but Gucci had already turned around and walked out of the room. "Damn, this bitch man. I kindly remind you, but you still don't appreciate it, right? Why are you using the warden's lover to disgust me?" Outside the door, Gucci slowly stopped after walking some distance. There was no one around, and his breathing gradually became a little disordered. Some images and sounds inevitably appeared in my mind. "Be good, little kid, let me hug you. You know what she did to you, she is indeed a bastard, shameless. Hey you." Shan Yu walked out quickly, but saw Gucci just standing there, and unconsciously turned off his voice. "Stand here. Wait for me." Before Shan Yu could ask, Gucci turned around expressionlessly, "Don't dawdle." After saying that, he left on his own. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 561. The Other End. Gucci had already changed the identities of Sutingyu and others to prison staff in advance, and also temporarily obtained electronic identity cards, allowing them to freely enter and exit most areas. "Kikai, take a look at the route." After coming out, Sutingyu looked at the route for a while, then gave up decisively and entrusted Qin Chi with the responsibility of leading the way. This way, follow-up Qin Chi had already memorized the route map, so he didn't need to check the map saved in his bracelet all the time. Moreover, they are no longer prisoners. Items such as bracelets can only be worn by prisoners. Both of them covered their bracelets with long sleeves to prevent them from being exposed. As for why they must wear bracelets, it's because all 4 of Sutingyu's personal tasks have been completed, and the bracelets have become their private property. Even the main prison system has not discovered it. Therefore, using bracelets to communicate safety and confidentiality high sex. With Qin Chi leading the way, Sutingyu followed with confidence. The prison airport area where Dr. Solo will arrive tomorrow is outdoors. With their electronic ID cards, the 2 of them had smooth travel along the way. The island prison, as the name suggests, is a prison built on an island. The island prison is divided into several areas. Among them, the areas where prisoners generally go are, prison area, agricultural and pastoral area, and industrial area. The area in the room where Sutingyu and others were originally located was, the leisure area. In addition, The island prison ocean has several areas: experimental area, supervision area, outdoor transportation area, outdoor resident area. What Sutinyu and the two were going to now was the small airport in the outdoor traffic area. When the two came to this area, they were also exposed to real sunlight, no longer the light of artificial lighting instruments. There are also several cargo planes and helicopters parked at the small airport. Attached to each aircraft is a team of robots patrolling and guarding them. In the work booth, prison guards in 2s and 3s are casually drinking, eating sunflower seeds, and watching TV shows and playing games together. Kikai, the security outside seems to be more relaxed than inside. Sutinyu walked around briefly and said with a frown. Qin pondered for a moment and said, "It should be that the prison guards here have absolute confidence in the intensity of supervision inside the prison, so they are loose on the outside and tight on the inside. Furthermore, this place is surrounded by the vast sea. Apart from boats, only planes can leave here, and these means of transportation require passes. Even the prison guards guarding the place do not have passes on hand. Therefore, even if some prisoners can escape from it, they cannot leave the island without a pass, and it will be a matter of time before they are captured. But fortunately, we have succeeded in the most difficult step. As the highest administrator of the island prison, the warden, he naturally has the authority to obtain passes. In other words, Sutinyu and others can leave now. However, considering the additional tasks of rehearsal and reception over there, I had to do it. After Gucci has finished dealing with them, Sutinyu and the others can leave this island prison. Leaving the island prison also represents the successful completion of the main mission of this round of copies. Qin, I'm going to see the model of the helicopter. Gucci has put the permissions of the pass into the electronic identity cards of several people in advance, and you can use them by swiping the card. Okay, Sutinyu nodded. This was what they came here for. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 562. Sir, the 108 female performers have been assembled. Please inspect. According to the location recorded in the itinerary, Gucci and Shan Yu came to the excellent stand. When they lowered their heads, they saw 108 female inmates gathered underneath. They are all wearing uniform performance clothes. Below, some prison guards responsible for teaching performances were supervising. When the main person in charge saw Gucci pretending to be the warden coming, he hurried forward to greet him. Gucci casually glanced down, his eyes indifferent. Time is tight, let them rehearse as soon as possible, I will see the preliminary results tonight. Yes. Shan Yu also secretly looked at the female inmates underneath, thinking to himself, will there be any target of his own mission inside? Although now even if he doesn't find the mission target and complete his personal mission, Shan Yu can easily pass the level as long as he follows Sutinyu and the others without any accident. There are rewards for completing personal tasks. Although Shan Yu doesn't insist on it, if he can meet his task target, he will definitely take action. Thinking of this, Shan Yu turned to look at Gucci, who was playing the role seriously. His beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of mischievous cunning, and he suddenly spoke with a sweet voice, "My dear, I want to go down and enjoy it up close, okay?" Well. As soon as he finished speaking, Shan Yu noticed with sharp eyes that Gu's body seemed to be stiff for a moment, and couldn't help but snicker in his heart. Want to take advantage of me? See how disgusting I am to you. This. The person in charge glanced at Shan Yu, his face hesitant, and there was a hint of temptation in his tone. As an old employee of the island prison, the person in charge also knew about the warden's preferences. Every once in a while, a new love will appear on the warden's side. Then this woman, is the warden's new love? Isn't this too bold? In the past, no woman would dare to interrupt the warden while he was working. Take her down. The person in charge was stunned for several seconds, and it wasn't until Gucci's eyes turned to the former that he suddenly came back to his senses. "Yes, sir." The person in charge nodded quickly, then looked at Shan Yu with a hint of flattery on his face. "This beautiful lady, please come with me. No matter how long this new love can be favored, at least for now, it seems that the warden is extremely fond and indulgent of her, so she must be treated with great vigor. Not asking for any benefits, just asking this and not to have any bad impression of him. You know, the role of pillow wind cannot be underestimated." Okay, Shan Yu raised his chin proudly, but he was secretly depressed. Why did he feel that this person named Gu was not disgusted? "Warden Zhang, you came here for inspection so early." A warm laughter came from the door, and an old man in a white coat walked in with a beautiful woman. Seeing this, Shan Yu quietly retracted his right foot that was about to leave. This old man is Dr. Guding in the data? But why hasn't the beautiful woman next to Guding ever checked her information? "Dr. Gu, do you have time to come here?" Gucci had seen Dr. Guding's photo beforehand, and he was no stranger to this person, so he greeted him as if nothing had happened. "It turns out that this is the handsome gentleman warden you mentioned." At this time, the woman next to Guding covered her lips with her hands and spoke in a charming voice. This sound. Gucci's pupils shrank slightly, and his whole body felt like he had fallen into an ice cave. "Be good, little girl." The woman's coaxing seemed to be ringing in her ears again. Is that the madman's voice? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 563. Guding laughed and pinched Chu Xinyu's perky buttocks. "What? You also fell in love with the warden's appearance?" "No way, I hate it." Chu Xinyu twisted her delicate body, and her whole body seemed to have no bones attached to Guding's body, like a delicate flower. "You still don't know who the person is in my heart." The two of them became intimate as if there was no one around, and the person in charge had already silently retreated to the corner. Shan Yu was a little surprised at first when he saw this scene, but he quickly calmed down. Shan Yu has seen too many such eye-catching things. However, this Guding is already an old man with gray hair and can be buried in the grave, but this woman can still talk about it and behave so naturally. To a certain extent, it is powerful enough. Shan Yu had seen this kind of intimate drama many times, but he didn't want to stay here to irritate his eyes, so he wanted to leave. It seems a bit abrupt for her to go alone, then grab the guy surnamed Gu. In just a few seconds, Shan Yu made a plan, but when she looked at Gucci, her expression was slightly startled. The Gucci in Shan Yu's eyes seemed to have suddenly turned into a piece of wood, and his whole body was frozen in place, with some kind of murderous intention flashing through his dark brown eyes. Shan Yu came within 2 meters of Gucci, but the latter showed no reaction at all. "What's wrong with you?" Seeing this, Shan Yu asked quietly. Sudden. Gucci stretched out his hand, and when Shan Yu didn't react at all, he put one hand around Shan Yu's slender waist and took him into his arms. The next second, Guding and Chu Xinyu finished making out, and when they turned to look at Gucci, their expressions were stunned for half a second, and then they suddenly relaxed again. Guding pointed at Shan Yu in Gucci's arms and teased, "It turns out that Warden Zhang also has a new love, ha ha ha. Are you disappointed?" "How could it be?" Chu Xinyu smiled brightly, "the prison director and this little girl are a perfect match. It's not too late for me to give my blessing." There was a smile on Gucci's face, but his eyes were filled with ice, as cold as a knife blade. "You too, my little guy just got bored and wanted to play elsewhere, so I'm going to excuse you now. It's easy to talk, ha ha ha." Guding looked at Gucci with a strange look that said everyone understands, with a big smile on his face. Gucci walked past Guding and Chu Xinyu with a calm look on his face, not even giving Chu Xinyu any charity out of the corner of his eye. But in his heart, Gucci was trying to control himself. "Can't take action yet. Not now." The more he restrained himself, The harder Gucci pressed his hand on Shan Yu's waist unconsciously. Shan Yu bit her lip and wanted to curse. But Shan Yu vaguely felt that something was wrong with Gucci's current state, as if he was on the verge of collapse. She had no choice but to endure it secretly. After coming out, there was no one around. Gucci let the person go and hurried forward without any explanation. Hey, why is this guy so crazy? Shan Yu's waist was pinched and hurt. Now that she was free, she quickly reached out and rubbed it a few times while frowning and muttering. Shan Yu paused for 2 seconds before choosing to follow Gucci. But soon, Shan Yu discovered that Gucci had entered the men's room. Shan Yu only hesitated for a second before stepping in. Fortunately, there was no one else inside except Gucci. Gucci was standing in front of the wash basin. The water from the faucet was turned on and gurgling out. He put his hands into the water, rinsed it continuously, and rubbed it a few times from time to time. The force was so strong that it seemed like he was trying to wash off his hands. Freshly stained dirt. Seeing this scene, Shan Yu became angry. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 564. Gucci. What do you mean? You think I'm dirty now? Don't forget who was so crazy and hugged me just now. Shan Yu seemed to have touched a sensitive nerve, with anger in his eyes as he stared at the man who had been silent since he came out. The atmosphere at the scene instantly dropped to freezing point. In the bathroom, there was only the sound of running water. 2 minutes later, Gucci reached out and turned on the faucet. He slowly raised his head and looked at himself in the mirror. Like a wild beast out of control. Ah! Sure enough, the man was right. Gucci, you are such an unimproved waste. Feel sorry. Gucci spoke indifferently. Shan Yu's chest rose and fell slightly as she adjusted her breathing. She lowered her head and let her hair hang down, just enough to cover up the flash of shock on her face. Is this an apology? Gucci turned his head and looked at Shan Yu, and his tone returned to calmness. You have already seen the mission target you are looking for just now. Hearing this, Shan Yu looked stunned. What do you mean? I've seen that woman. That madman actually entered the game. That's right, according to the closed beta mechanism of this game, it's not surprising that she entered the game. It's her, Shan Yu murmured softly, suddenly thought of something, and asked, do you know that woman? Then you. Was the abnormality just now because of that woman? Let me ask you, do you still want to complete your personal mission? Gucci asked without answering. Shan Yu subconsciously replied, of course I do, isn't there a reward? The fool was let go in vain. Gucci took out a tissue and wiped the water stains on his hands. Then I can help you. Help me? Help me with what? Gucci said in a cold voice, kill her. Shan Yu was stunned for 2 seconds, and the killing intent in the man's eyes was unreservedly revealed at this moment. And this actual murderous intention contained overwhelming hatred, and some emotions that were more complicated than she could understand. Gucci, you. Shan Yu wanted to ask why, but felt like he didn't know where to start. In the end, Shan Yu chose not to ask. Everyone has their own difficulties and scars. Shan Yu took a deep breath. Sorry, I just reacted a little too much anyway. Everything passed. Now that Gucci has taken a step back, Shan Yu doesn't need to continue holding on. After wiping his hands, Gucci threw the tissue into the trash can in the corner, then took out a bottle of disguise potion and drank it without hesitation. Why did you drink the potion? No, is there still a mask? Before Shan Yu could finish speaking, Gucci explained, just to be on the safe side, drink it. Come and try, Check my player status. Ah. Shan Yu blinked her beautiful eyes, very puzzled. Don't you know everything? Shan Yu did as she was told. She slowly walked within 2 meters of Gucci and checked the latter's player identity, but found that nothing appeared. What's going on? Why can't I see your player information? Shan Yu looked surprised. This is the first time Shan Yu has seen this situation where the player's identity cannot be checked within 2 meters. That's right, the disguise potion is a relatively high-end potion. If players can identify each other just by checking each other's identities, then its value will not be so high. Sutingyu should have been able to refine it long ago. Yes, Gucci expressed his guess. Shan Yu slightly opened her beautiful eyes. Did you think of these on the spur of the moment? Or have you thought of them a long time ago? Seeing helped Sutingyu find the raw materials for refining the potion. As for the disguise potion, I saw her use it in the last dungeon. Shan Yu was a little dumbfounded. So, Gucci had already thought of it? And it seems that even Sutingyu himself didn't know about this discovery, right? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 565. Inside the airport. Inside a helicopter. Sutingyu glanced at the time displayed on the electronic certificate. It was almost 12:30. The function of this electronic card is like a combination of mobile phone, ID card, and work permit. Sutingyu adjusted it to simple, old, single, person, mode, which is very convenient to use. Kikai, let's eat first. Sutingyu raised his head and looked at Qin-Chi, who was checking various data of the aircraft, and suggested. Okay, Qin-Chi responded, turning off the various startup programs of the aircraft and erasing all traces. I remember there is a staff rest area, go there. Qin-Chi took Sutingyu's little hand and walked out. Yeah, what a duck. Sutingyu had no objection. After learning about the source of food in this prison from Gucci, Sutingyu and others had a tacit understanding and decided to use the food they prepared in the inventory to solve the problem of eating. Sutingyu, it's going well here. Do we need to come to the airport this afternoon? Do we need to go to other areas? Go to the port in the afternoon. Qin-Chi has already made plans. Although the plan is now to leave by plane, to be on the safe side, we cannot just focus on this road. Oh, Sutingyu nodded. After dinner, go back and take a look at Fatty, and take a rest before going to the port. After the two left the airport, they passed by a large field of farmland where various crops were planted. Among them, there were many prisoners using agricultural machines to do farm work. On the outermost edge, there were prison guards and robots supervising the work. Huh? It's not even 12:30, and the prisoners are still working. Sutingyu's sighed. It was thanks to Gucci's identity that they got rid of their prison status and could now relax and leisurely visit the prison. Kikai, do you think there will be players among this group of prisoners? Sutingyu suddenly thought of the other players in this round of dungeons when she was bored. Apart from the eliminated players, the remaining players were probably still there. In dire straits? Qin-Chi, I don't know. Kikai, I'm hungry, let's walk faster. Qin-Chi listened to the girls muttering quietly, stared at the girl's profile, her eyebrows gradually softened a bit, and quietly held the latter's little hand tightly. In order to go to eat as soon as possible, Sutingyu decided not to take a detour but to walk through the farmland. There were more inmates coming and going, some carrying water and some carrying farm tools. When the inmates saw Sutingyu and the other two carrying electronic certificates, they subconsciously stayed away from each other. Ahead, a fertilizer truck slowly drove up. Suddenly, the speed of the fertilizer truck accelerated. Get out of the way. In the driver's seat of the fertilizer truck, a man shouted in a panic. The car seemed to be out of control and crashed in the direction of Sutingyu and the two of them. Seeing that he was about to hit Sutingyu and the other two, the man in the car jumped out and rolled out. Careful. At this time, one of the prisoners carrying water suddenly threw away his bucket and rushed towards Sutinyu as if he was desperate. He looked like he wanted to save people and shouted anxiously. Sutinyu subconsciously turned her head to look, her eyes slightly confused. Who is this person? Qin held Sutinyu's waist with one hand. Without even looking at the water bearer, he led the man to dodge in another direction. As soon as the two left, the expression on the water bearer's face froze for a moment. But before he could take any remedial measures, the fertilizer truck had already hit him. Boom!